Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Dave here with Go Gamers, and today we're going to be taking a look at this Xbox One S with video issues. So let's go over to the upper cam and see what's going on. So today we have a Xbox One S motherboard. So I got this all the way down to the motherboard thinking it was an HDMI issue because that's what the person wrote down on the paper. It was like, hey, I have an HDMI issue. And me just wanting to get as much stuff done as possible because I get so many repairs in here, I just went on ahead and replaced the HDMI port. I hook it up. To my surprise, it was not the HDMI. Um, More than likely is going to be an HDMI retimer, which is your Texas Instruments encoder chip that sits right behind your HDMI, which is right here. And we're going to take a look at that underneath that microscope. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a couple things. We're going to check the EMI filters that sit right above that chip before it sends out that signal to that before it sends out the signal to the HDMI port. So let's see what's going on because this is very interesting. All right, so we have everything under the microscope. First thing what we're going to do is test both of these EMI filters that sit right below your HDMI port right here. So we're just going to zoom in so we can make sure we can hit these points right where they need to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my multimeter, put it in continuity mode, just like how I did just now. And we're going to see if we can get continuity between these pins. We have continuity between that one. I do a cross check just to make sure there's no continuity cross out, so there's no cross solder. You see I'm bringing over my black probe over first just to make sure there's no cross. There's no, all pins are good. There was no crosses and everyone was reading perfect continuity. So I'm going to test this one out. We're getting continuity, no cross solder, continuity, no cross solder, continuity, no cross, continuity, no cross, continuity. All right, so what this console is actually doing is the console actually pixelates and it shows a bunch of artifacts on the screen. So if that's what you're experiencing, what we're going to do right here is actually going to repair that issue. So if you're having issues where your stuff is randomly showing a bunch of colors, or if you turn it on, you're just completely just experiencing a black screen and your HDMI port is fine, everything else is good. 9 times out of 10 is always that HDMI retimer. I only know of a handful of times where I actually had to go in there and replace one of those EMI filters. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put this up. And before I even take off that retimer on that, just so we can be prepared, I'm going to grab this donor board and we're going to take off this retimer on this donor board. So we're going to take this off and we're going to transfer it over. So I have a pretty common pair of tweezers that you could get from a Walmart. They're kind of bent up. Need to get some new ones. Over time, these things will break down. I'm constantly rebuying new tweezers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on my latex gloves. I'm going to pop some flux around that retimer. And we're going to get this thing lifted off. And we're going to prepare to get it just transplanted onto the new board. Once we transplant it onto the new board, we're going to hook it up. Obviously, make sure everything works. So let's grab this flux. I'm going to be using the 8341 No Clean Flux paste. We're going to be going around there. You could get this flux from Amazon. Don't get none of that cheap crap that they sell at Walmart or what is that, Menards or Home Depot. Stuff doesn't work too good. You will actually have more issues than anything. So I have my nozzle on that matches that size because I don't want anything too wide where I end up ripping off other components. So I got my heat wand on, got my fume extraction going, and we're just going to go ahead and heat this up and get this taken off. All right, so I got it off. It kind of flew not too far. Ha ha ha. It's definitely that time for me to get some new tweezers. So I'm going to put it back under the microscope so we can see it in its entirety. So if I could bring that over there. So there we go. There we have it. Obviously a lot of dust and crap around it, a lot of dust and debris. So it's definitely going to need a cleaning, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to the other board, and we're going to take the old one off and get this new one placed on there. We have our board back that we want to take off this Texas Instrument retimer on. I'm going ahead and grab my clamp to make sure it's fully clamped down onto this board. And let me move it over just a tad bit. All right, so we have it right here in view. Now this is all the easy part. All this is going to be easy until we get this thing put on. Then it's going to get a little bit more complex and tedious because you have to completely make sure every pad is completely soldered down. And if all the pads are not soldered down, it won't work correctly and you'll still experience either the same issues or it just won't cut on at all. So we have to make sure we fully get every single pad soldered down. And I do not like tending the header on these retimers. What I mean is taking off the chip and then resoldering everything on that header, because 9 times out of 10 I'll accidentally put solder on that middle ground pad, and that's hell to get off. I gotta grab my heat gun, I gotta put it to the highest setting, grab my wick, and then get everything off. So the best thing to do is to actually get the new chip on there and then actually apply solder after, and I'll show you guys that way. So this is going to be the easiest way that I know how to do this, that I've been doing this for quite a bit of time. And these issues are really common with Xbox One X's, not too common on these Xbox One S's, but we will get it done. So I got my fume extraction on, got my heat wand loading up now. All right, I had to go ahead and slide that off just because my tweezers are pretty weak right now, and you know, if it was components like right above there, I'm gonna be honest, I would have just said forget it. I would have went straight up to the Menards right up the street, and I would have just grabbed a new pair of tweezers because I wouldn't want to risk it. But I knew I was able just to slide it off without really messing with that header. And we're gonna go back to this microscope because under this microscope, the header actually seems pretty good. As you could tell, there's a tad bit of solder missing from about right here, but that's not bad because it doesn't even connect right there. A little bit right there. So this header actually looks pretty good. Now, what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and place on our new retimer, but I'm going to add some flux first. And let's grab the new retimer. Make sure you put it on there the same exact way it needs to be on there. I don't know what would happen if you actually put it on there like backwards or something. It probably just wouldn't work. Never tried it and never wanted to attempt something like that, just in case if we end up with more issues, or maybe a filter gets blown out, fuse gets blown out, and then I end up having to do more work than I'm supposed to just because it was backwards. So just gotta make sure. And as I can see, the letters are kind of hard to see because it's covered in dust, and we'll see more once it's actually soldered on there. But this looks to be the right way. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna line it up, just put them slight touches on there. You at least want to get it semi-perfect because the flux and heat will flow it into place to make sure it's good. So, and let's see, get a little bit closer. A little bit more up that way. I hope that's perfect. I don't know. Or semi-perfect. Let's give it a try. If it's not, we'll know immediately once we obviously line up the pads. And, you know, it's pretty simple just to go on ahead and reheat it up and then move it over a couple pads or one pad over. So we'll see. But it looks good. Messed it up. And this is another issue I always face too when doing these is regardless of how low I set my airflow setting to, it always still moves. So I got mine pretty low, but you can't have it too low or it won't flow the solder. So I hope that's perfect. I'm not sure. We will find out soon. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this at an angle so we can check the solder points. All right, so wow, actually got it perfect. And that was even after it moved. So let's move this the other way just to make sure. Yeah, so it's on there perfect. Now what we're gonna do is start to apply solder to every point. Now you might think, oh, why would we need to do that? It looks like it's on there perfect. Yeah, it's on there perfect, which is good, but you see how this header has absolutely no solder on it? That means we actually need to apply solder to this header. This is tricky because I gotta hold this at an angle and make sure it stays focused and get this on there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pop some flux, heat up my solder iron, and put a little bit of solder on my iron. And we're just gonna do this to every side. All right, so we're gonna start with this side first. And let me re-pop this flux on there. All right, let's see. So I got my solder, got my iron, and we are going to do it a little bit like this. So just gonna dip that in there, and we're gonna take that little solder ball that's on the tip of my iron, and we're gonna run it across this entire section of header. To give it a clean look. As you can tell, that went pretty well. Besides, I don't know if you can see, but there is 3 pads that have excess solder on there, and all I do is clean off my solder tip, run back along there, and get it off. So that's it. That's it for that side. I'm gonna do every side like that and come right back to you guys. So I'm gonna go back, check over everything I just resoldered. Everything looks, from what I could tell, good. So we did good. Now that actually took longer than what you guys really know, because I cut out I'm going to cut out quite a bit of that, because that took a lot of time. I'm going to cut out and speed up a ton of that header rework. Yeah, so, and believe it or not, for some odd reason, the Xbox One X's actually take a lot longer, and they still actually utilize another Texas Instrument retimer that's actually the same exact size. All right, okay, guys. So what we're gonna do is go ahead, obviously take off these gloves, and we're gonna go ahead and put this console partially back together just to make sure this retimer chip works good, and then hopefully everything is good. Then we'll be able to be done with this. So let's hook it back up and see how it works. All right, so I got it partially back together. Got the hard drive, power supply, disk drive in, and we're gonna go over to our game capture and see what we get. So it's staying on so far. Typically, if the retimer was hooked up wrong, it would immediately turn back off immediately. You'll actually get the white light of death. Okay, so it's actually doing a lot better than what it did last time. Initially, it didn't even show anything. It would just, you would see this screen and it would immediately pixelate out. So this is good. This is good so far. All right, so we're good. And we are back at the main screen. So we can see. Let's see, get rid of that so we get a better sight. So yeah, looks like everything is working excellent. Everything is showing in 1080p quality. There is absolutely no pixelations going on right now. It seems to be fine. So yeah, we got a perfectly good working console with a brand new HDMI retimer. So that's going to be it for today, guys. If this video did help you guys out, make sure to go ahead and smash that like button. Also, if you guys want to see more videos like this, subscribe to this channel because I'm going to be uploading daily content. And if you have any questions for me or want to see a specific repair, please leave your comments down below. I'll try to answer as many questions as possible. But this console is good to go. So I hope to see you guys on the next video, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.